One of the big surprises from Microsoft's E3 conference was the debut of Metro Exodus. Well, now the devs have said that the Xbox One X will allow them to make sure that Metro Exodus looks amazing. We're going to be talking about that, as well as Sea of Thieves running at 15 frames per second. What's going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And I found a couple articles that were really interesting. So I figured, you know what? If I see anything interesting, I'm just going to make a video about it and talk about it and share it with you guys. So this first one isn't so much about the power of the Xbox One will help ensure Metro Exodus looks amazing, right? That kind of reads like marketing speak to me. I mean, who knows? Maybe they have a deal with that game, Microsoft and Xbox have a deal with Metro. But what's interesting is what he says in the interview. Now, this is one of the biggest surprises at Microsoft's E3 this past year. Nobody kind of predicted that Metro Exodus would be debuted. In fact, I think it was like one of the coolest things there, if not the coolest things there besides like Ori. Now, one of the complaints I did have was that trailer that they showed, that amazing looking trailer. I was like, there's no way this is Xbox One X footage. It didn't even look like actual gameplay. It looked like a kind of pre-rendered trailer similar to like Killzone 2, if you remember back in like, what was that, E3 2004 or 5 or whatever, where it wasn't actual gameplay. Well, they eventually said that that trailer was made on a PC to specifications of the Xbox One X, but they go into more detail about how the actual trailer is, and he says, executive producer Jonathan Botched in the October 2017 issue of OXM UK, he says that the power of the X will allow to ensure the game looks amazing. The trailer was recorded in-engine from a gameplay sequence players will find later on in the game. We remove things like HUD and QuickTime event prompts, choreographed to play through and music to fit the needs of the trailer, but the game looks like what you see. Now that makes a lot more sense. We kind of knew that HUD was removed, but I didn't know that some of that stuff was a QuickTime event. But that makes sense if you actually go back and watch it, because he does a lot of quick movements that necessarily couldn't be done with a controller or a keyboard, just the way the character moves. So it's interesting to say that that is a sequence in the game that they just removed the HUD and they kind of cut out the button prompts of the game. But he says, and he reiterates, that the power of the Xbox One X will help make the game look like it was in the trailer. And that is, I mean, if that's the case, that game is going to be absolutely phenomenal. A phenomenal looking game from a phenomenal bunch of developers. If you haven't played Metro 2033 or Metro Last Light, they did remaster them for the Xbox One and PS4. I highly recommend you guys go play both those games. They are so good. Some of the most atmospheric games I've ever played. Such great first-person shooters with a really cool story. I can't wait for Metro Exodus to come in 2018 and seeing if it really lives up to that amazing trailer. Now, the other bit of interesting news that kind of hit today was that Sea of Thieves on PC, which we already know is going to run 4K 60, native 4K 60 frames on PC with crossplay with Xbox, but they're also going to have an optional 540p mode and a 15 frames per second lock, which I read, the headline and I'm like, what? Who wants to play a game in 15 frames per second? And who wants to play a game in 540p? I mean, 540p is not even HD. But the game's PC design lead, Ted Timmons, basically said, if you're enjoying the game, why should we as developers knock you for that? And that in some of the feedback they've gotten from the PC alphas, that people were like, hey, we want to play it. We want to play the game. Not everybody has a super awesome, powerful gaming rig, right? He goes on to say, we're trying to go as low as possible. We have an idea of what the minimum specs are, but aren't quite ready to reveal them. We've actually been inviting people below our current plan for minimum specs into the technical alpha so we can get a test, a number things on the performance side. The game looks great regardless of the device you're playing on, right? I just kind of like wonder how many people are actually playing in 540p and 15 frames on their computer. And he goes on to say, we've actually added a 5 540p mode so you can go below HD. We've also added a 15 frames per second frame rate lock because when we're talking to the community, some people were like, I'm actually happy playing 15 frames per second. And we were like, that's actually really cool. We should support that. And you know what? If someone's enjoying a game for running at 15 frames per second, good on them. You know, Rare's just trying to make the game accessible to anybody that wants to play it, whether you have an Xbox One S or an Xbox One X and the upgrades that the X will have over the S, or if you have a 2000 beast of a rig, you know, gaming PC that can run the game at native 4K 60 frames, or a laptop that you bought in 2005 and you want to play the game in 540p and 15 frames per second. They want anybody and everybody to come play their game. And it's kind of funny to say, you know, when I saw this, that, you know, with all the 30 versus 60 frames debate that goes on, like 30, 60, 30, 60, to come out and see this, and they're like, yeah, people want to play in 15 frames. I'm sure a lot of the PC crowd who demand 60 are probably turning in their graves right now. But whatever. I mean, they said, if you're enjoying the game, why should them as developers knock you for that? So it's just Rare trying to make the game more accessible for more people out there, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'll be playing it on the Xbox One X, though. Anyways, guys, that's it for the vid. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you could do me a favor and hit that like button. Consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you're always notified when I go live or when I drop new content. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I will see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.